The wind howled through the dense forest, carrying the sharp scent of pine and damp earth. Somewhere in the fading light, a man's boots crunched against the frost-covered ground. Have you ever been so alone that every sound feels like a warning? That's where our story begins, with Jake, a single dad, whose life was about to change forever. Jake Harper trudged through the woods, his breath puffing in the cold November air. His 7-year-old daughter, Lily, clung to his hand, her small fingers trembling despite the thick mittens he'd bundled her in. They were miles from home, deep in the Oregon wilderness, on a camping trip meant to heal the ache in their hearts. 2 years ago, Jake had lost his wife, Sarah, to cancer, and the grief still clung to him like frost on a window pane. Lily, with her wide hazel eyes, was his reason to keep going, but he felt like he was failing her. The campfire stories and s'mores were supposed to bring them closer, but all Jake could feel was the weight of his own loneliness. "Daddy, it's getting dark," Lily whispered, her voice small against the rustling leaves. Jake squeezed her hand, forcing a smile. "We're almost back to the tent, kiddo. Just a little farther." But the truth? He wasn't sure. The trail markers had vanished in the twilight, and his phone had no signal. Panic prickled at the edges of his mind, but he pushed it down. He had to stay strong for Lily. Then a sound cut through the wind, a faint, desperate cry. Jake froze, his heart thudding. "Did you hear that?" Lily's eyes widened and she nodded. The cry came again, sharper, more urgent, from somewhere to their left. Jake's instinct screamed to keep moving, to get Lily to safety. But what if someone was hurt? Can you imagine that moment, choosing between your child's safety and a stranger's life? He crouched to Lily's level, his voice steady despite the knot in his chest. "Sweetheart, I need you to stay right here, okay? Hold on to this tree and don't move. I'm going to check who needs help." Lily's lip quivered, but she nodded, clutching the rough bark. Jake kissed her forehead, then followed the sound, his flashlight beam slicing through the shadows. The cries led him to a small clearing where the sight stopped him cold. A woman lay slumped against a tree, her face pale and streaked with dirt. Beside her, a boy, no older than 10, knelt in the leaves, his hands shaking as he pressed a blood-soaked scarf against her leg. The boy's eyes met Jake's, wide with terror. "Please, she's hurt bad. I don't know what to do." Jake dropped to his knees, his camping first aid training kicking in. The woman's leg was gashed deeply, likely from a fall or a sharp branch. Blood pooled beneath her and her breathing was shallow. "Hey, I'm Jake," he said to the boy, keeping his voice calm. "What's your name?" "Ethan," the boy choked out. "That's my mom, Claire." "Okay, Ethan, you're doing great. We're gonna help her, all right?" Jake unzipped his backpack, pulling out his first aid kit. His hands moved fast, wrapping gauze tightly around Claire's wound to slow the bleeding. She stirred, her eyes fluttering open, and mumbled something incoherent. Jake leaned closer, catching the faint smell of lavender from her scarf. "Claire, stay with me, I've got you." Ethan's voice broke. "We were hiking. She slipped on the rocks. I tried to call for help, but my phone's dead." Jake glanced at the boy's tear-streaked face and felt a pang. This kid was fighting to save his mom just like Jake had fought for Sarah. He couldn't let them down. "Ethan, I need you to hold this bandage here, tight as you can," Jake said. The boy nodded, his small hands pressing down. Jake worked quickly, using his jacket to keep Claire warm. But the truth hit him like a punch. They were too far from help, and Claire was fading. He needed to get her to a ranger station, but Lily was still out there, alone in the dark. His chest tightened. How could he choose? Then, a small voice called from the trees. "Daddy?" Lily stepped into the clearing, her eyes wide as she saw Claire and Ethan. Jake's heart lurched. "Lily, I told you to stay put." But she ran to him, clutching his arm. "I was scared, but I wanted to help." In that moment, Jake saw something in Lily's eyes, a spark of courage he hadn't noticed before. She wasn't just his little girl. She was brave like her mom had been. He took a breath, making a decision. Okay, sweetheart, you're gonna help me save them. Jake turned to Ethan. We're gonna carry your mom to my truck. It's a couple miles, but we can do it. You with me? Ethan nodded, wiping his eyes. Together they fashioned a makeshift stretcher from branches in Jake's tent. Lily held the flashlight, her small hands steady as she lit the way. The forest seemed to close in around them, the wind biting at their faces, but they moved as a team. Jake and Ethan carrying Claire, Lily leading the way. Halfway through, the unexpected hit. Ethan stumbled, his strength giving out, and the stretcher tipped. Claire groaned, her face twisting in pain. Jake caught the boy before he fell, but Ethan was sobbing now. I can't do it. I'm not strong enough. I'm gonna lose her. The raw fear in his voice cut Jake to the core. He'd felt that helplessness before, watching Sarah slip away. But then Lily did something that made Jake's heart swell. She knelt beside Ethan, her voice soft but firm. You're not alone, Ethan. We're here. My mom got sick, and I couldn't save her, but we can save your mom, together. She took his hand, and Ethan looked at her, his tears slowing. That small act of kindness, a child reaching out to another, lit a fire in them all. Jake tightened his grip on the stretcher. Come on, Ethan, Lily's right, we've got this. With renewed strength, they pressed on, the ranger station's faint lights finally appearing through the trees. When they reached it, rangers rushed out, taking Claire inside and calling for a medevac. Jake collapsed onto a bench, pulling Lily and Ethan close. The smell of antiseptic and coffee filled the air, a stark contrast to the wild forest they'd left behind. Hours later, a ranger approached. Claire's stable. She lost a lot of blood, but she's gonna make it thanks to you. Ethan threw his arms around Jake, sobbing with relief. You saved her. You didn't even know us. Jake hugged him back, his own eyes burning. I know what it's like to love someone that much, kid. But the story doesn't end there. Days later, Jake and Lily visited Claire and Ethan at the hospital. Claire, still weak but smiling, gripped Jake's hand. You gave me a second chance to be a mom. I'll never forget that. Her words hit Jake hard, reminding him of the life he was still building with Lily. And when Ethan and Lily traded drawings, simple sketches of the forest, with a bright sun breaking through the trees, Jake saw hope in their faces. It was a moment that felt like a promise. Kindness could mend even the deepest wounds. As Jake and Lily drove home, the radio played softly, and Lily's voice broke the silence. Daddy, do you think Mommy saw us help them? Jake's throat tightened. He glanced at her, seeing Sarah's warmth in her eyes. Yeah, kiddo, I think she did. Now picture this. A single dad, a little girl, and two strangers in the woods, bound by acts of kindness that changed their lives. Can you feel the hope in that? This story isn't just about Jake, Lily, Ethan, and Claire. It's about what we can do for each other, even in our darkest moments. The world feels heavy sometimes, but kindness? It's a light that never goes out. So what's your story? Have you ever experienced a moment of kindness that changed everything? Drop it in the comments below. I read everyone. And if this story touched you, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. Want another tale of hope to lift your spirits? Check out our next video, where a stranger's gift transforms a small town in ways no one saw coming. Keep spreading kindness, and I'll see you in the next story.